Hello and welcome. On September 2nd, 2023, Pete Homer, Natty Homer, and Zoe Homer, and your friend and mine, Jam Mandala, sat down with Tom Lopez, the genius writer, producer, and director behind the Fourth Tower of Inverness, Moon Over Morocco, Jack Flanders Adventures, and other radio plays that have inspired us since the early days of the peace and love movement. Mr. Lopez was gracious enough to set us down in his beautiful mansion on the Hudson River and delighted us for 3 hours with great tales from his life. Thank you, Tom. It was a wonderful experience, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this excellent retrospective by Mr. Tom Lopez. Enjoy.
Technical and stuff.
He's getting weird.
So
I'll get started.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's a pleasure to meet you. I know that they've dropped by a few times over the years, but I'm excited. I was here once before with Dad, but I guess you guys weren't around. We just sort of dropped out.
Was that only a few weeks ago or something?
No, this was probably I want to say 2017 or 18.
Oh, I see.
So quite a while ago at this point. I don't remember what the story was, but yeah, we just dropped by, and then lo and behold, you were around. Anyway, I don't really know what the impetus behind this was, other than I started listening to Fourth Tower a couple weeks ago after offhandedly mentioning it to a friend, and was like, God, I need to re-listen to these. And then started chatting to everybody about them, and then realized that I was going to be up here, and then figured I don't know, Dad was like, we should go meet him, and I thought, oh yeah, and I have a bunch of questions, and then I should record it. I don't know. You got my big list of a million questions. I think some of the things that I've always been interested in are, there's too many things, but a lot of it is around what media were you consuming as a kid? What kind of were some of the big...
Well, radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that predates... Yeah, next year I'm 90.
Okay.
And I frankly need hearing aids. And because I'm old. I mean, I don't know why I'm still here. I have no idea. I had planned to check out much earlier, but it turns out that didn't happen. Anyway, it's what's sort of behind because when I was thinking about this, what's really behind it of the Fourth Tower are the people that I've met that sort of influenced me, and so as a kid, I was brought up on a farm in Michigan, and a dairy farm, and so I'm sort of used to being by myself a good deal of the time. Now, my wife would normally be here, but I don't like living alone, by the way. But meaning that when you on a farm, you just, especially back then, you're plowing, you're disking, and back and forth across these fields, for hours at a time. Sometimes I'd fall asleep and find the tractor trying to push through a fence, more than once, by the way.
Yeah.
But, so you have time to sort of daydream, because you have nothing to do. There's no radios back then. I mean, radios on tractors.
Transistor radio.
Sure, not out in the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was part of it, and I realized that there are some things that you daydream about that later become part of your life. I daydreamed about having a motorcycle, you know, as a kid. And then later I had a few motorcycles.
Sure.
So, but things happen. The thing is that what happened was I went to Michigan State and graduated, started our master's, and decided, what am I doing? I'm just killing time here. And a friend said, let's, because it was in the spring graduating, and you could get rides to different parts of the country. People wanted somebody to share the gas expenses. And so he found a ride to Los Angeles. And it's great, but then they left without us. And so the next one I found was Berkely. Now, 1960 in Berkely, and I was there for, what was it, 6 years or so. And so I got to watch the whole sort of rock and roll era start,
Sure.
but also the whole, and that was predates the Vietnam War, but that whole, and the hippie movement, of course.
Haight-Ashbury.
You know, Haight-Ashbury, exactly. Sort of watch all that, but it wasn't a matter of just watching it. You could feel it. You could feel the energy. I mean, sometimes you just step outside and say, oh my God. I mean, it was in the air, you know. It was like you felt a whole change was happening. And it was happening between the generations. That's why I think it was the yippies, you know, that don't trust anyone over 30, you know. And
Right.
and that was a pretty good line because I think I was like very late 20s at that point. And also too, I was though I was working at the time for the University of California, I also you could audit classes. You could just, any classes you want. So I decided I really wanted a background in theater and that, you know, since I had a degree in media and I wasn't
Your master's was in media?
What's that?
You said you had got your master's?
I was working on, I had gotten my bachelor's and you know, in media. But the media was radio hardly existed, and we're talking about the 50s here.
Yeah.
But it was television.
Yeah.
That was the up and coming. And the Michigan State had its own television and radio department that they actually had they didn't call it public television, but that's what it was, you know, non-commercial.
Did you work as a DJ at the radio station at the school?
No, not then. Not then. I had no interest in radio, none whatsoever.
Really?
To me, it was television.
Surprising.
And
Oh, I see.
Not television, but also too, I wanted to write for television because there were some of the great writers back then. Penny Chayefsky, you know, and several other people that you would have on television, sometimes Playhouse 90, I think it was, and,
Sure.
and various others where they would do a 90-minute authentic play. Not
Yeah, a theater presentation,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seemed to have a lot of potential, but I realized to get into it, I would have to go off and work at some podunk station.
Yeah.
You work my way up and all of that. Oh, for instance, let's go to West Coast. So arriving in Berkely was the perfect time and to watch,
Yeah.
you know, the things happening.
Right
And
before
also,
it all started. So you got to see the whole thing
yeah, so I
unfold.
I met some interesting people, and at some point I decided that just before the Summer of Love, it was like time to get out. The whole drug scene was starting to change things. Kids were arriving, they were 14 years old, with no money or any place or not knowing them from other parts of the country because the press had picked up all this is happening in Berkely, and it was Berkely.
It ruined the whole scene.
Yeah, very few places.
That's what George Harrison said when he
visited. A whole new consciousness, people waking up. You know?
Yeah.
And well, from there, a friend who was living, her name was she was an actress. I mean, somebody who's studying acting, and she was she was living in London and going to Lambda. And Lambda was one of the two, there was what was it called? Whatever. Anyway, there are two major schools, and that was the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. And she said, and London was swinging then. I mean,
it was another epicenter of the movement.
Yeah, and she says, you've got to come to London, because I was saying, I really got to get out of here. Because it was starting to change, it was starting to get a little bit politically, and
it was losing that original spark, the spiritual spark of it, and becoming a materialistic drug cult kind of thing.
Yeah, it was